As Israel continues its aggression on Gaza, Hamas has reportedly agreed to a ceasefire, but as expected, Israel refuses. Despite calls for a ceasefire and international mediation efforts, both sides remain at odds over key terms. Israel insists on maintaining its military presence in Gaza, while Hamas demands a complete withdrawal and international guarantees for peace, which Israel refuses. Can talks resume and a deal be brokered? Can international guarantees ensure a lasting ceasefire, or will the Israeli aggression escalate further? Welcome to In Depth. In defiance of international law and in continuation of crimes against humanity, Israeli occupation forces are set to expand their ground operation in Gaza, aiming to occupy 25% of the enclave within the next 2 to 3 weeks, according to Axios. Israeli officials stated that the operation is part of a maximum pressure strategy aimed at forcing Hamas to release more detainees. If no new detainee exchange or ceasefire deal is reached, the ground operation could escalate, potentially leading to the reoccupation of most of Gaza, according to the news outlet. According to Gaza's health ministry, 1,000 Palestinians have been killed since Israel resumed its war, with over 50,000 deaths reported since October 7th. Israeli media has reported that sources close to the negotiations between Israel and Hamas say that Israel used to fully withdraw its forces from Gaza, while Hamas demands international guarantees to prevent the war from reigniting.
The negotiations surrounding a potential deal between Hamas and Israel have reached an impasse. Hamas is demanding a full Israeli withdrawal from Gaza, as well as international guarantees to prevent future aggression. But Israel refuses to comply with these demands. The Israeli government insists that its occupation forces will remain in Gaza until all detainees are released. The Israeli Broadcasting Authority reported that there is a disagreement between the parties regarding the start date of the second phase talks and the cessation of hostilities. Israel also does not agree to the release of a large number of Palestinian detainees, as Hamas is demanding. The human cost of the conflict has been devastating, especially after Israel broke the ceasefire and renewed its attacks on Gaza earlier this month. The war, now ongoing for several months, has led to more than 50,000 Palestinian casualties, with no clear end in sight. The renewed military strikes by Israel have intensified the humanitarian crisis, causing further civilian deaths and injuries. While international mediators have been attempting to broker a new ceasefire, the deep distrust between the two sides raises doubts about the chances of success. Israel continues to block humanitarian aid from entering Gaza and to commit war crimes and violations of international law. For now, it remains uncertain whether a deal will be brokered or whether the cycle of violence will continue.
And for more analysis, we're joined from occupied Jerusalem by Dr. Abdel Nasser Mikki, political science professor, as well as Mrs. Ratiba Nacha, member of the Palestinian National Action Committee. Good morning and welcome to In Depth. I'll start with Mrs. Nacha. Now, Israel has rejected the idea of a complete withdrawal from Gaza. Why does Israel believe that maintaining a military presence and occupying Gaza is crucial?
This is the Israeli plan. beginning and maybe before the 7th of October, reoccupying Gaza Strip because they believe that it's a part of Israel and they must put control in it and controlling the resources in Gaza Strip. What is about the Palestinian people in Gaza? They have three choices, as Smotrich mentioned before. They have even to be died or killed in Israeli military actions, or to be transferred to another or to a third country, or to accept to live under the Israeli occupation with no rights and to be given or treated as a humanitarian cases. This is the Israeli plan. So talking out of this plan is something that it's not serious from the Israeli side from the beginning. All the negotiation is just for buying some time and for releasing some pressure from outside on Israel, especially from the United States on Israel. We know that Netanyahu didn't give any uh, maybe a roof for the negotiation team to go for any kind of agreement on these negotiations. They no way, and they have no control in achieving, or they didn't have any will in achieving any agreement with Hamas or any other Palestinian side. It's not just because of Hamas or because they are negotiating with Hamas. Netanyahu said that he didn't want Hamasistan or Fathistan. He means that even the PLO is not willing to be controlling Gaza Strip. He wants to control Gaza Strip, and this is his aim, goal. He and his government as well, and this is what they are seeking: is to control Gaza and reoccupying Gaza Strip and the West Bank as well, making no chance for any Palestinian state to be established in any Palestinian land anymore.
Dr. Meki, Hamas has stated that it wants international guarantees for a potential deal. What specific guarantees is Hamas seeking here, and how realistic is it to expect the international community to pressure Israel to provide those guarantees?
From the beginning, Hamas, requested that from the American and also from the Mediterranean, like Qatar and Egypt, and also for the United Nations in order to interfere to end the war in Gaza and to reach to a deal between Hamas and between the government of Israel. So because of this, they started this in the 19th of, that's before 2 months. And that's what happened in the first stage. And it was the agreement was consists from 3 stages. In the beginning, they started with the first stages, which was goodwill. And after that, even the Israelis didn't even implement or commitment to the first stage, like the humanitarian, that's aids, mobile houses, and also the other things that have been agreed. But even that Hamas also continue, and they released all the detainees in the first stage, about 33 detainees in the first stage. But now Israeli after that, and Israeli continue to attack and the aggression in Gaza before 3 weeks, and they killed about 1,000 Palestinians, from this 150 children, and also about maybe thousands of casualty injured have been from Gaza. So now in Gaza, Hamas after that they refuse what about the Witchkoff in order that what he proposed, but Hamas proposed to release one American detainees and also 4 death body. After that, the Israeli refused, and the American have this proposal of Witkoff, which is about 5 people from the detainees to be released. And when Hamas, before 2 days, when Mr. Khalil Hayya, the head of Hamas in Gaza, he accepted that. The Israelis said that they are not accepted, and they, that's requested to release 11 detainees. So the Israeli is just now, or even always, they just say with the obstacles in order they want to continue the war. They have their agenda in Gaza. That's about Netanyahu's his problems, internal problems from that inside the government, the extreme government, what happened between also Smotrich and Ben Ghafir, the problem between them and the resign of Smotrich, and also the problem of the Robin Bar and also the illegal consultancies against against Netanyahu, and also what now is talking about the new scandal for Netanyahu, which is the Qatar gate. So because of this, Hamas is not, even they are not, truth, and they are not accepted what Netanyahu said or the Israeli government. And they said that they are lying, they are not going well with their promise. So because
Yes.
of this, they requested that the American should be interfere, and especially now they are waiting for Witkoff in order to speak about, to say, and also to solve the problem between the two parties.
Yes. Mrs. Nacha, how critical is the condition of the full withdrawal of Israeli occupation forces from Gaza as part of the deal?
Actually, Israel is putting unrealistic goals since the beginning, and unrealistic conditions on these negotiations from the beginning. And I think what will make everything realistic and goes for a deal is putting a real pressure on Israel, not just on Hamas. Everyone is trying to put the pressure on Hamas and to push them to accept this deal. And it seems that they are pushing the war to be continued and not for a real ending for this war. And ending this war means that we must put a real pressure on Israel. What kind of pressure can be put on Israel? Threatening Netanyahu to be exiliated from this government and the fallen of his government, and maybe stopping all kind of supporting for his government financially. Secondly, military as well, because giving him all of these facilities to continue this war, supporting his budget, supporting his financially, but making him taking a more and more unrealistic or putting unrealistic condition on this deal to fail it and not stopping this war, because he knows that he is not paying anything from his pocket or from the economy as well, and everything was funded by the United States. I think that the role of the United States must be started now to appear a real will of putting pressure in Israel to stop this war, and from the United Nations as well and the international community to put some maybe punishment on Israel by stopping at first to export any weapons to Israel, and then putting like economic maybe punishments or other international punishment on Israel, as well as
You're
other
talking about
countries
sanctions
that
here?
put in under this.
You're talking about
punishment.
sanctions on Israel, right?
Again?
Are you talking about sanctions, economic sanctions on Israel, Dr. Ratiba?
Yes, yes.
Okay. Dr. Mickey, despite calls for negotiations, Israel continues its aggression. What do you believe needs to happen? What needs to be done for Israel to stop the violence? And would the idea of sanction on Israel be effective in this context?
I think the sanction against Israel, if it's not stopped by the United States of America, and if the USA still supported Israel, I think this sanction will not be fruitful, will not be even enough in order to stop Israeli from this the aggression in Gaza. Because Israel now, they put their priorities in Gaza. They are saying, and especially Netanyahu, that he wants to continue in order to reach to victory. He said this about 650 times in order that he wants to reach to absolute victory, and also to demand over Gaza, and also by the airstrike and by the fire, he could release the detainees. This is what he believes. I think also he wants to escape to the front because, as you know, Netanyahu is accusing with many, crimes, especially internally and also from the ICC. So I think all the world, not just the United Nations or the European Union, the Arab country also should interfere in order to support the people in Gaza because they are, they're suffering. They are dying. There is no water. There is no food, and also at the same time, they should pressure the United States of America in order to interfere and in Israel in order to open the borders.
Mhm.
It's something like to reach the crime wars. It's something to reach to the genocide. So every day, maybe 200 people have been killed or injured. So this is the voices of the resistance of Gaza. The people, they are suffering there. And every day they dying, that's many of them. And they are living in a miserable condition, even in the holiday. It's Eid al-Fitr, when the people should be enjoy in these days, but they are now suffering. And we saw that every day we see, even every day, what happening, the crimes for the people, the children, they said that they want to. There is no holiday there, while all the people in the Arab Islamic world, they are festival in the holiday. Why the Gaza until now they are just living on the miserable condition?
Yes.
So I think all the world should interfere, not just that here
Not
and
just
here,
the
all the
United
world,
States or the United Nations. You're talking here
all
about
of
the
them.
interference of Arab countries as well. Okay.
Yes, and the Islamic countries. Yeah.
Yes. Mrs. Anacha, as the death toll continues to rise, how do you view the humanitarian situation in Gaza? Could you further elaborate on the humanitarian situation in Gaza now?
Actually, there's nothing humanitarian in Gaza anymore. We are talking about targeting the worker on the humanitarian aids. Talking about targeting the kitchens that prepare meals or the minimum of food for the people in Gaza. We are talking about targeting the storages of the aids in Gaza. We are talking about a destroyed health sector. We are talking about continuous transferring from one place to another in Gaza. There's nothing to talk about a humanitarian situation in Gaza. Talking with people in Gaza, they say that they are still fasting because there's nothing to eat after Ramadan or after the end of the fasting time. So we are talking about people died from hunger and from very bad conditions, lack of any health services in the Gaza Strip. Even they are attacked. Anyone tried to give any aid in Gaza, the worker on the humanitarian aids was targeted and still targeted. Many international organizations announced that they will stop their operation in Gaza because they didn't have any kind of communication with the Israeli military, and they can't secure their teams. So we are talking about people are dying without even any witnesses or any documenting about what is happening inside. For example, last week, surrounding the Al-Hilal, the Red Crescent team in Rafah, they need like days to find out what happened with these teams, and they found them killed and buried in a very big hole together. It's like a crime. Everything is happening in Gaza now can't be even we didn't have any description for what is happening in Gaza. At the beginning of this war, we started to say that it's against the international law, it's not a humanitarian, and all of these
No, this
things.
is a
Now,
genocide.
all these descriptions further.
Dr. Mickey, what is Israel's position on international guarantees, and why Israel has resisted accepting any guarantees on future security after a ceasefire?
I think the Israeli, that it's not just not accepted. Israeli have their agenda. They want to even to reoccupy Gaza again. And also, as I mentioned, this is by the extreme government, which is, that dominated by the extreme people like the Netanyahu, Smotrich, Ben Gvir. They want to reoccupy Gaza again. They want to make settlements. And also at the same time, that Netanyahu want to, that to send a good message to Smotrich that he had, that in order to accept what's happening in Gaza, he want to, that let his to do what he want to do in the north part of north of the West Bank by killing the people, by displacement the people from Tulkarem and Jenin. So I think so that Israeli need a guarantee for international from the international, because Israeli is not even believe or not interested with the international that's guarantee. They have their private agenda, their own agenda, and they want to Gaza again without any listening to anybody, which pressure in Israel in order to withdraw from Gaza.
Mrs. Nacha, the Israeli occupation forces have resumed airstrikes, breaking the ceasefire. What assurances or guarantees can Israel give that it will respect any new ceasefire agreements?
Actually, I don't trust the Israeli anymore, and we know that even the Oslo negotiation gives a lot of guarantees, and after 35 years, none of these guarantees has really been given to the Palestinians to establish their independent state. So talking about Israel and commitment is something didn't make sense for any Palestinian. We know that Israel didn't have any commitment for the Palestinian and will not be under any commitment anymore. But we are talking about the international will, if they have the international community will, if they have a real will to give us an independent state, they must take a real action, and this action will start from ending the war on Gaza Strip and on the West Bank as well, because we have escalating military actions on the Bank as well as the Gaza Strip. So without any commitment of having a Palestinian independent state, everything will be like a war that can the wind blow in immediately after a while. Maybe some pressure in Israel means changing at first the Netanyahu government and ending these or falling these government once forever, and can be internal pressure from the internal pressure in Israel, not from the international community.
Yes.
For the international community, we have a decision to end occupation by the end of September.
I get your point.
Yes, so we need an action to end this occupation.
Yes, I get your point. From occupied Jerusalem, that was Mrs. Ratiba Nacha joining us, and she is a member of the Palestinian National Action Committee, and Dr. Abdel Nasser Mekki, political science professor. Thank you both very much for your valuable insights. And this brings us to the end of today's episode of In Depth. I'm Hala Al-Hamalawi. Thank you so much for joining us, and stay tuned for more updates here on Q News.